I was going through some difficult and challenging times in 2018. I found myself suddenly a single dad with a 4-year-old daughter, and everything in my life turned upside down. I had to change career, move house, keep going for the sake of my daughter to give her some kind of stability. And I'll be honest, it nearly broke me. Other people have had much worse things happen, but it was a lot all at once. Now, I'm lucky because I have close friends and family, although all my friends actually at this point had moved out of London and my family lived down in West Sussex. Plus, I'm the kind of person who thinks I need to sort my own problems out, so no one really quite knew the extent of what I was going through. Now, standing on the other side of it, I coped, but I wished I could have had more help sooner. I wished I could have asked for more help. Now, in my time as a teacher, writer, workshop leader, trainer, I've always loved helping people in everything I've done. So I've got an impressive list of self-help books on my bookshelf and a lot of mindset and personal development information that I've accumulated over the years. But I'd never really had to put any of that into practice before. The real learning happened when I was at my absolute lowest point. So today I'm going to share with you some of what I've learned. These are practical tools that can help you with mindset, mood, productivity, outlook and happiness at work and at home. And to be honest, I don't believe that the two things are separate. Different people have different work-life balance and you have to find your own. But the things I'm going to cover which helped lift me out of my situation and turn me around can apply to your whole life, because you're not just a worker or a boss. You're a multifaceted human being and everything is connected. Do you know the story of the tortoise and the hare? They are in a race to the finish line, and the hare, confident of his win, has a little nap before he crosses the line and wakes up just in time to see the tortoise winning. Now, the moral of the story is very clear: to take slow, steady steps to get to our destination. Yet how often do we find ourselves acting more like the hare than the tortoise? It's understandable. We're expected to deliver results and we want everything to move fast. But are you able to stay in the moment? Whether that's writing a report, playing with your kids, emptying the dishwasher, are you somewhere and your brain is somewhere else? Now, there's nothing wrong with putting things on your back burner. It's an important process to work through things. I'm talking about the times when your mind is worrying about things that are out of your control, things that you can actually do nothing about, and you thinking or worrying about them isn't helping. It builds up stress. It activates cortisol, which is the main natural stress chemical in your system. It's a slow burn, but that constant release of cortisol compounds until you sort of build up an anxiety. It's a pressure cooker. And once the stress is there, the challenge is finding ways to release the stress, such as exercise, meditation, positive things. The less productive ways are taking out on people around you, your co-workers, your family or strangers, through anger or irritability. It's toxic, it's unpleasant, it damages your relationships, plus it doesn't really tackle the root of the problem. You need to reduce the stress, but wouldn't it be better to prevent the build-up of stress in the first place? There are some key principles that are embodied by the tortoise from that famous story that, if implemented, could make a positive difference to your life. Now, perhaps you already share some of these habits. Maybe some of your ways are currently more hare-like. But here are some of the things that the tortoise from that story understood and which you might like to consider. Are you happy? It's a big question. It's pretty broad and it means something different to everyone. But as general as it is, what's your answer? Now think about that for a moment. Are you happy? I love this question because happiness is subjective. There are so many things to discuss here. It prompts people to get lost in their thoughts. If I'm ever asked this question, I start turning over ideas, rationalizing situations, weighing up things from different sides. It really gets me thinking, and that's great. If you've ever wondered about the importance of self-reflection, then please notice what happened to you when I asked you the happy question. Did you look to the ceiling, or maybe over to one side? Maybe you frowned and looked down. Maybe you even shifted in your seat a little bit. Your physical response is a reflection of you having to deal with a different kind of thinking. Now, this kind of question offers us an opportunity to create a focus and to think differently. It takes us out of our present moment and gives us perspective. Now, interestingly, most people reflect on where they are and then come up with a positive response to that question, even if they're privately going through a terrible time. Asking if people are happy almost always steers them towards focusing on the good things. Now, I don't mean that they are pretending that everything is okay, everything is fine on the surface. I mean that it actually stimulates us to step back from our current situation, weigh up both sides, and ultimately come up with a silver lining to any potential clouds we might be facing. So this way of thinking is what we need daily to help us stay mindful. But of course we get lost in the daily processes, we lose perspective and we forget what's important. So just that single moment, looking inward and acknowledging your feelings, can plant a seed that can help you to recalibrate, get perspective, and remind you who you are and why you're here. Now, you might not get an answer right away, and if you do, it may not be the ultimate answer, but the wheels are now in motion and the self-reflection has begun. You must trust that the answers that you seek are already inside of you, beneath that hard shell that you carry around for your protection. I keep going on about the tortoise, but it works. So firstly, it's important to look under there and don't rely on what is out there. Because put simply, happiness is connecting the space between your inner self and your outer self. If the two are not aligned, you will have disharmony or conflict. You will no doubt have come across people in your life who are difficult to relate to. This is often because they are inwardly conflicted. And the result is that they find it almost impossible to connect with others because they're not actually connecting with themselves. Once you uncover who you are, what is important to you, you will have this same level of determination, self-belief, and true acceptance of your own power as that little tortoise did on the starting line. Thousands of years ago, fearing the unknown was essential to survive in an environment we shared with dangerous wild animals. We were hardwired to listen to our fears. Without this instinct, we might not be here today. Unfortunately, we still carry the same programming from our ancestors, which is flight, fight, or freeze. Fortunately, there is an antidote. Now, countless professionals, athletes, and individuals at the top of their game regard visualization as a powerful tool and a significant contributing factor to their success. What is visualization? Well, it refers to starting your journey by imagining your desired outcome. Slightly different from a goal. What you're doing is you're creating a very, very clear and specific version of it in your mind and making something which may have previously seemed impossible suddenly tangible and achievable because you've almost lived it. Now, I'm reminded of the first Karate Kid movie back in the 1980s, if you've ever seen that. Daniel, the Karate Kid of the movie's title, is given the task of trimming a bonsai tree by his wise teacher, Mr. Miyagi. Now, Daniel is stumped, pun intended. He has never seen a bonsai tree, doesn't understand what is expected of him. But Mr. Miyagi tells his student to close eyes, think of tree, open eyes, make like tree. Now, this is a fun but very accurate example of visualization. Once Daniel has visualized his outcome, he is able to begin with confidence. And this then in the movie leads on to an exchange that really speaks for itself. Daniel says, "But how do I know if my picture's the right one?" And the wise Mr. Miyagi says, if it comes from inside you, it's always the right one. So whether it's pruning a bonsai tree, rising to a desired position within a company, improving your relationships, or achieving financial freedom, the same rules apply. By first seeing yourself in that suit or that corner office, or having good relationships, or inhabiting your dream house, you create a very powerful visual image or goal, which you now can then work towards. You now know what it looks like, and this informs your internal guidance system about the steps, the small steps, I should say, that you need to take to get you there. Much of our time is spent thinking about the past. Without careful management and specific direction, our memories are like a movie projector, constantly playing reruns or repeats. Knowledge of the past is vital for success, otherwise we would just repeatedly make the same mistakes. We don't want to do that. We must use the past, or utilize the past, to inform us about our present decisions. But it's important not to become stuck there, because why remain focused on past mistakes or situations which you cannot change? We do have the power and insights to create a happier and informed life right now. Visualization is proactive dreaming. Creating a clear outcome in your mind provides confidence, insights, and motivation required to get you there, which is vastly different from daydream, which is simply escaping your reality into a world of fantasy without really taking action. So when you visualize, despite the fact that the final result may only be on your mind, seeing this vision really clearly is the critical first step towards creating a specific result. You may have heard the famous example of a young Canadian comedian. He had visions of being a film star, and he wrote a $10 million check to himself for acting services rendered. And then only a few short years later, Jim Carrey was a household name, and he'd achieved his goal by starring in Dumb and Dumber. It was a bold move, yet it empowered him to create a clear outcome which he ultimately manifested. Without goal setting and visualizing, we are simply running a race where the finish line is obscured. Logic dictates that in such a scenario, without a clear end point, we're going to run around in circles and eventually give up. And this is not the way of the tortoise, far from it. Our tortoise is far too wise to set out on a race without a solid plan, self-belief, and determination. Balance is essential, and it's something we should all be aiming for. So whether that means getting the right amount of sleep regularly in order to function as a human being, eating the right food so your system runs optimally, having social time with friends and family to balance out the stress of work or other things, having hobbies which feed your passion. So if your work isn't your favourite thing, you can at least create some excitement in your life that then feeds back into your work so you feel more motivated. Now, we usually know when something is off balance. We have our gut to tell us that something's out. Or perhaps a friend or a co-worker will point it out, or our mums will let us know. Not always in the best way or at the right time, but they will probably tell us. So in order to stay balanced, it's important to think preventatively. It's better to take measures beforehand instead of trying to fix ourselves once we're already burned out or broken. It's like your car, it needs a service once a year. If you don't keep on top of the water, the oil, the tyre pressures, the car will eventually break down. And we're the same. We should be doing the things daily that keep us balanced, fit, healthy, nourished, relaxed, instead of ignoring those signals when things are wrong and having to deal with our own personal breakdown. So if we have the balance right, we're enjoying work and family life and relationships and eating healthily, sleeping well, potentially living longer and avoiding unnecessary trips to the doctor. Now, why would we not want that version of our lives? Do we really want to be running ourselves into the ground, or do we want to enjoy our lives? The question is how. The answer is positive habits. As a species, we're enormously adept at implementing routines and skills that quickly become second nature, requiring minimal thought or concentration. Everything we do is habit. Brushing your teeth, driving to work, the morning commute, knowing the route to a supermarket, the food that you buy, the drinks you drink, the friends that you keep. It's all habit. And once adopted, habits allow our brains the luxury of creating expansive, strategic thought while the practical stuff takes care of itself. Now, there are obviously detrimental, sometimes life-threatening habits such as alcohol, nicotine or drug addiction, not to mention habitual behaviour which can undermine your relationships at home and at work. So we all have habits which are perhaps not great and are actually making our lives harder than they should be. But with a little focus and some simple techniques, we can create and nurture positive habits to replace the negative ones. Good habits are something that most successful people have in common. It's not that they don't have bad habits, we're all human, but on the whole, self-driven, aware, and happy individuals maintain habits which form the building blocks or foundation of their lives. Without them, their balance would be off, and eventually they would crumble. These habits are born sometimes out of necessity. For example, in order to be alert for an early morning meeting or getting the kids to school, you need to go to sleep at a reasonable time. there's a balance or a payoff. So some people do this incredibly well at work, and then at home, then it's all chaos, and vice versa. So you know the basic strategy for creating habits, and then you implement any routine, physical or mental, and improve the quality of your life. That's the whole point. Now, the mistake people often fall into is confusing habits with goals. Now, our brains store habits and goals in two completely different places. So we have to separate the two in order to get clarity. They are connected, but in order to achieve your goals, you have to make a clear definition between these and your habits. The two things are poles apart. And once we understand this, things become much, much easier. Every December, just after Christmas and before New Year's Eve, we fall in love with the idea of goal setting with our New Year's resolutions. This year, I'm going to go to the gym 5 days a week. I'm going to take up yoga. I only drink alcohol on a Friday night. I replace sugary drinks with water, cut out carbs. I won't eat chocolate. The goal setting is incredibly exciting. The possibilities are endless, and it's really important. It's the new version of yourself. It's the one you always wanted. You're the hero of your own movie. But statistically, New Year's resolutions lasted until mid-February, if that. But why? It's because the goal, the ideals about real transformation are so exciting and inspiring that compared to the habits required to actually achieve these goals, which is hard work, sweat, daily grind, repetition, you end up going from your goal with an excitement level up here to your habits which are down here in comparison. The mismatch is a huge shock to your system. It's a passion killer, and because of the disparity, we typically become disillusioned, disappointed, and eventually give up. Another thing we do is that after dreaming big and having these ideals and goals, we then either forget about them completely by losing focus, or we start questioning them. It's that little voice of negativity in your brain that gets louder and louder. Maybe it's a strict parent, a critical teacher, or just your own insecurities, but you listen to it and you start to believe it, and then you question your ability, which undermines your confidence, and you give up. If you decided to plant a tree in the garden, would you dig it up every day to see how it was growing? No, you'd give it space and water and sunlight and give it time to grow, to take root. Now, if we constantly question our ideas and overanalyze whether we can make them happen or not, we're stopping their development. So eventually, like that tree, if we keep digging it up, our ideas, our goals, they will shrivel up and they'll die. We separate the goal from the habit. We adopt the slow and steady approach of the tortoise, and we take one step at a time towards that finish line. Now, the wise tortoise is not thinking about the fact that he's in a race against the fastest creature in the wood. He's not imagining what will happen when he wins the race. Instead, he's focusing on each perfect step and enjoying the journey along the way. So you need that vision, the goal setting, the big thinking and excitement that draws you towards what you want to achieve. You have to believe it, and you have to love the idea. Then you need to separate the immediacy of that goal by focusing on the here and now and gaining enjoyment in whatever you're tasked with. So trust your judgment, your goal, and then focus on what you're doing now. It comes back to balance and payoff. Your goal is over there. Your habit to achieve that goal is right here, right now. Don't question that. You've made a good decision. Slow and steady wins the race. Feel good about doing the tiny tasks. We don't want to focus on cutting things out, but instead on replacing one habit with another. No one wants a life that feels less than what we had before. We're not about reducing or missing out, but on building and expanding. If you had a beautiful garden with the perfect plants in strategic positions, but loads of exposed earth, you would probably spend your whole life weeding that soil. But instead, we're going to focus on planting flowers in the soil so that you leave no space for the weeds to grow. The positive habits replacing the negative ones. Nobody wants to spend their life weeding. When attempting to create a new habit, repetition is rule number one. You do it every day, no matter what. And this will help the neural messengers in your brain send the right signals and in turn embed the new habit. Just do it again and again and again and again until it's second nature. Now that's obvious, right? But how often do we simply stop doing something and fall out of the habit? Even though we know it's good for us, the other two rules are going to help. Rule 2 is context. Repeat your habit at the same time and in the same place every day. For example, if you want to wake up 20 minutes early to improve your knowledge and reading, do that in the same chair. If you want to repeat an affirmation to give yourself a boost, do it whenever your feet touch the floor in the morning. Or do the press-ups on the same rug before you go to brush your teeth. After a few days, your environment or your physical space that you inhabit will remind you what to do. The final rule is mindset. Whatever habit you're building, just be there in the moment and enjoy it. The long-term goal is important. It should be something to inspire you and draw you forwards. But the immediate and most important goal to focus on is completing this one task in the optimum way possible. If you were building a wall, if you focus on laying each brick perfectly, you're going to have a perfect wall. So enjoy laying these bricks. Take pleasure from that. That is where your focus should be. The wall will come. Focusing on the detail of your task, whatever that might be, will get you there. There are many positive habits which can improve your outlook and enjoyment of life and help you to stay balanced. These include meditation, affirmations, mindfulness, exercise, nutrition, and you can apply the same rules I've just outlined to create and embed these habits and get the full benefits. Now, I don't have time to go into all of them today, but I'm going to focus on the 2 habits that have been proven above all to make a positive difference to levels of happiness. Dr. Martin Seligman, who's credited as the founder of positive psychology, carried out extensive research into the science of personal happiness. So his aim was to discover which activities brought the most significant life satisfaction. The results of one study, which included nearly 600 participants, showed that 2 activities proved conclusively successful at maximizing happiness, demonstrating that those who carried out these 2 daily exercises were measurably happier than before after only 1 week, and the 2 activities were documenting positive things that happened throughout the day and writing a letter of gratitude. Over an extended period, the participants who undertook these activities become measurably happier and even happier when tested at intervals of a month, 3 months, and 6 months. So self-reflection and gratitude are proven ways to increase your happiness. The growing evidence of positive information from scientific studies worldwide demonstrates that journaling is hugely beneficial for well-being. Many GPs, health specialists, CBT counsellors and addiction specialists advise their patients to journal as part of their care program. And I receive messages and emails daily from customers who've been advised by medical professionals to do just this. Now, in 2017, the Journal of Nursing Education and Practice published a 9-page report designed as advice for nurses coping with their stressful careers. And of course, this has been put into extensive use in recent times when the NHS, the pressure on the NHS frontline services has intensified beyond belief. This is what they said. Now, sadly, although we go on with our lives surrounded by others, the thought of actually opening up and expressing our innermost thoughts, our desires, our values, or our fears to those around us often seems a step too far. But here are some of the known benefits of keeping a journal. Stress relief, mood boosting, improving emotional function, improving immune function, organising your thoughts, setting and achieving goals, promoting healthy self-reflection. I would advise getting a structured journal, as this offers bullet point questions so you're not stuck with a blank page syndrome when you're not sure what to write. It should also have elements of positive mindset so that you can stay focused on the good things in your life instead of dwelling on the bad, which brings us nicely onto gratitude. Being grateful is key to finding happiness. It's something that you should try to implement into your daily routine, your mindset, and your overall outlook on life. Believe it or not, the simple process of reflecting and appreciating what you have in every aspect of your life plays a huge part in shifting your mindset towards the positive. Gratitude can improve quality of sleep and life expectancy, and people who practice a daily ritual of gratitude report that they have a stronger sense of self-worth and an increased ability to cope with potentially stressful things that life throws at them. Plus, if you're being grateful, you have limited capacity for negativity because you simply can't do both at the same time. By focusing on gratitude, you're training your mind to perceive the world differently. So things that you took for granted, your friendships, family, colleagues, nature, your pets, your food, your finances, they'll seem different, even though the only thing that has changed is your perception. Gratitude gives you perspective. Now, the important point is that you will find what you search for. If you're looking for justification to feel bitter about what you don't have, you will find it. But you can just as easily find reasons to be grateful. Now, the amount of gratitude is not important. Even a subtle shift in mindset will build momentum over time. And once gratitude is part of your daily routine, you'll find it difficult to believe that there is any other way. So finally, I'm going to leave you with a very powerful exercise to try over the next few days or a week if you're up for the challenge. The great thing is that it combines the two most impactful habits and it will increase your sense of happiness. One of the most positive ways you can start your day is to make a gratitude list in your journal as soon as you wake up every day. It takes 2 minutes and it can really impact the rest of your day. You're more likely to feel stressed and anxious in the mornings because you're either worrying about the things you haven't completed or you wake up with a clear mind that is immediately flooded with all the things on your plate. So this exercise creates a powerful feeling of appreciation as soon as you wake up that filters down throughout your day and really affects you in a positive way. So as soon as you wake up every morning, I'd like you to sit up in bed with a pen and a piece of paper that you've put there the night before, or you can open up your phone, you can make a note or compose an email to yourself, but please don't check your inbox first or go onto social media because that's a surefire way to clutter your mind. So the exercise is this: simply write down a list of things in your life you are grateful for right now. It could be a person, a situation, favourite cup of coffee, your children, your best friend, a place you love to go, the fact that the sun is out, a new pair of shoes, the fact that you are still breathing, maybe even be grateful for your new journaling habit. It really doesn't matter what it is or who it is. The important thing is to get your mind focused on the good stuff. Yes, there are stressful things. There are things that could be better. But the point of this exercise is to focus your mind on the positive because that boost of feel-good chemicals in your system will give you a sense of place in the world and a reason to get up, to enjoy your life and to be happy. So I urge you to try this simple exercise in the morning for 7 days. Start tomorrow, or better still, get ahead of the game and find a couple of minutes in your day and create a gratitude list. It will reset your mind, give you a new perspective, and you'll feel happier, more motivated and grateful. It's an incredibly powerful thing to do and it's a great way to start your day. It's been my pleasure to share this with you today. Thank you very much for your time. Have a great day. Bye.